Games at your table. I'm Jonathan Albin, and this is Game Master Soapbox. Today we are going to be delving into 10 player archetypes. Now, there are as many archetypes, I suppose, as there are players because everyone's unique and everyone's individual. But I'm going to talk about basically 10 types of players that you might have in your game and how to integrate them into the sessions and make them feel particularly special. Make sure you go below and hit all the buttons so that the algorithm will know that you're part of our audience, and let's get started.
Absorbing damage is the name of the game. From the claws of monsters or the heat from a ball of flame, or strength in numbers is a roll of the dice.
Okay, one of the challenges with keeping players interested in your game sessions are to play the way they want to play. People come from a large variety of pathways and a lot of different courses to come to the game table. And so they each one have a particular style of play they prefer, and in all likelihood they're going to play the way they want to play. So one of the keys to retaining a good quality games group is to keep the action so that it feeds whatever the players are in particular looking for. So we're going to be talking today about 10 different styles of play and how you can integrate each of those players into your game session. So when a player comes into the game, they often will come in absolutely determined to win, to solve the puzzle, to conclude the adventure and achieve whatever particular goals they have. And the Intrepid is a representation, I suppose, of the person who is absolutely driven by the concept of the story. They will undertake any challenge. They will play into the scenes, and they will be wanting to draw as much excitement and fun out of the game as possible. And in many cases, this is really the objective that every game master wants, is to have at least one Intrepid in their adventuring group. The key, of course, is to keep the adventure moving. If you've got a large group, make sure that you find something to be adding continuously to the story so that the other players will feel like what's going on is important and the Intrepid is getting little bits towards his objective of concluding the puzzle. If you take too long or drive too deep into the story, you can lose the Intrepid because they don't feel like they're actually interacting with the game, but instead are running behind the scenes. So endeavor to give them something that will provide them with that feeling of ownership and belonging. Now, I speak of the overzealous, but the reality is that we all want zealous. The overzealous is the person who's going to read into the adventure what he wants to bring to the adventure and really endeavors that his piece of the action means something. It's really important for the player who has the overzealous position to feel like what they're doing matters. So endeavor to personalize the interaction that they are having with the game. Simple nods or acknowledgments of their efforts, an NPC who thanks them, a situation that rewards their personal endeavor. You can reward a person who is overzealous without overdoing it simply by acknowledging their efforts. I have a player in one of my current groups who has, I believe, 95 points already into his investigator skill. And this is merely because he's dedicated himself to being the one to find things out. And there are 100 different ways that you can reward the investigator, whether it be providing additional information when they get a wild success, or whether you provide them with perhaps insider information after the session that derives from the things that they've gathered in the game. An investigator is useful in terms of getting to the heart of the matter for your players, but individually they are wanting to be the first to see something or first to experience something, and you can really make a lot of hay with an investigator by providing them with this very unique experience of being the first to discover. Alrighty, so sometimes you have players that just want to play. They're not there to be the solvers. They're not there to conclude anything. As a matter of fact, they're just enjoying the experience. And it's okay for them to play along the perimeter of the story if that's what they want. I refer to them as rounders simply because they want to be in every action scene. It doesn't mean that they're action magnets per se. They just really endeavor to be a part of what's going on. And so collectively discussing what the group is doing really helps them to develop their identity within the story, because perhaps they're not prepared yet for understanding what is the deeper meaning of the story, or perhaps they're just enjoying the social interaction. Rounders generally appreciate the rewarding portions of the scenes when a player gets the reward for what he's trying to do within the game, and it's important to provide that on an ongoing basis. So for rounders, make sure that you mention how great the group has done and what the collective has accomplished. They may not have done anything individually memorable, but that isn't what's important for them. They are worried about being a part of the whole and seeing the story unfold. All right, I'm going to use a quote from a movie, sue me here, but the idea of some players is to look into the story for the deeper meaning, look for where there are the downtrodden or the unfortunates, and play into their desire to be the fixer, the one who resolves these conflicts. And so when you know you've got a breaker of change, when you know that you've got a player that dedicates themselves to this, try to find ways to feed that to them specifically. Other players may not even notice, other players may not even care, but your breaker of chains players really want to be instrumental in the rescue, instrumental in the salvation portion of it. And by recognizing that and playing into the breaker of chains motif, giving them somebody who requires them to save them, you provide them with what they're looking for, and this keeps them coming back week over week. Remember, that's really the point of this, is to retain players. And so when you can fulfill what they're looking for in the game, you're providing them with the justification or motive to come back session after session. All right, and this is parallel to our earlier conversation about the action magnet. Johnny on the spot is the person that wants to be at the right place at the right time all of the time. Now, you can't always accomplish this, but as is described, as is described in my book, Top of Your Game, the idea of accentuating the positive and downplaying the negative, you're able to provide the player with that moment of accolade that they're looking for. That, oh, we found out where they were hiding, or we've discovered the location, and it was Johnny who happened to be there right at the right time. Lucky us, he was here. This rewarding of the action, even if it's only periodic, nonetheless it provides the player with the impetus to come back, because that's what they are here for. That's the scratch that they are trying to, that itch that they're trying to scratch, so to speak. They are wanting to feel important to the story. And by letting them be the person at that moment, in certain cases, of course, then you are rewarding their style of play and fulfilling what they came to the game to get. Now, I got to mention Kevin's, and I know that this, I may be overstepping my boundaries here, but the idea of the Kevin is the guy who simply wants a moment in the limelight, even if he doesn't know what to do with it. A person who is a Kevin will cut through scenes, throwing himself into the action specifically to draw the attention to themselves, even if they honestly haven't got a clue what they would do with that free time. But it's okay to let them have a scene every once in a while. I know that there are those who would say that either you're playing your game improperly if you have a Kevin developing, or you are somehow undercutting your better or more accomplished players by feeding into the Kevin. But the reality is that there are some people who just want to be on stage sometimes. They just want to be the center of attention. And whether it causes them to twist in the wind or whether they actually can rise to the occasion from time to time, it's okay to give the Kevin his scene. And this is one of the reasons why I quite often use a sand timer when I'm running a large group, because I want to make sure that everybody gets their season in the sun, so to speak. And rewarding a Kevin isn't even really about the Kevin, it's about other players recognizing that all of us are here to enjoy the game and be a part of it. And whether the person is a Kevin because of their aptitude or their attitude, both of which they thrive on if they are given those opportunities from time to time. My buttons aren't working. Oh, there you go. Okay, so this is a group that I've spoken on before, but I didn't have a really good term for them. And a friend of mine came up with this the other day. I thought it was pretty funny. They're referring to them as the Benther-Dunnits because the individual has played in so many role-play games, in so many conditions, in so many scenes that they see each one of them as lackluster, blasé, boring. They've been there, done that, and so hence Benther-Dunnit. But the Benther-Dunnits of the world really are trying to elevate their own experience with the game to show how valuable multiple sessions have been for them. And so even though it's sometimes seen as a reverse compliment or a negative thing to suggest that they are already done, they should already quit playing because they've done everything. Benther-Dunnit really is just drawing attention to the fact that you've topped out on a particular trope. You've gotten to the point where they recognize it, and it's actually good for players to see that things might happen the same more than once in the really long scale. 5, 6, 7 year campaign. There might be a possibility that a couple of episodes might feel close to similar, and your Benther-Dunnits will be the ones that bring out this effect. Now, why would they do this? As again, I said, they're endeavoring to show their prowess, and so make sure you acknowledge and recognize the cleverness that they've represented by seeing the parallel, and perhaps you feed into it, perhaps you don't, but the idea is that the players are acknowledging, you're acknowledging the players' capabilities and making them feel important, and that's really critical to keeping players coming back week over week. All right, now even when you have a group that's established and they're working on the objectives of a story, there's always one or two that will challenge whether or not the players are assessing your data correctly. Perhaps they've seen too many jaded situations and are completely averse to the parallel, or conversely, they just simply want to create for themselves the chaos theory, so to speak. But the benefit of a chaos theorist in your group is it does leave players questioning what they've experienced and what they've seen. And it's important to perhaps play into the chaos theorist from time to time so that the magnitude of their discoveries is recognized. The person who is building the chaos theory wants there to be something more to your story, and there's nothing wrong with allowing a perception to be maintained. And it's really important that the players get a handle on what's going on in the game that they can handle, and therefore a Chaos Theorist often gives them a reason to hold on and to be a part of the story. And so by maintaining your relationship with the Chaos Theorist, feeding into his or her theories from time to time, really helps to consolidate their desire to be there and their reason for continuing session over session. All right, and then ultimately you have the Atomizer, and an Atomizer is akin to your nihilistic player. He's there to take the puzzle apart. But an Atomizer is more along the lines of a person who is guiding themselves towards analysis paralysis. They want to take every scene apart to its nth degree and really get a grip on what's going on so they can analyze their correct path. Sometimes an Atomizer is a person who wants to win at the game. We've had this conversation before. And perhaps they really are looking for a way to grab the details of the story and make it make sense to themselves. But the merit of an Atomizer to your group is to perhaps take apart the scenes that didn't make sense and reconstruct them over time by linking them with other pieces from earlier adventures. I have taken great lengths of maintaining my Atomizers sometimes in a group because they don't let the collective run roughshod over a story element. Instead, they will spend days, weeks, months really taking the adventure apart and deciding what they're trying to accomplish. And by doing so, they give an opportunity for other player alternatives to be included in the story that might not have been included otherwise. All right, so the question I have for you is, how do you make your stories make sense? What players do you have in your group? Are these 10 included? If not, that's fine. But if you have some other ideas of types of persons that we need to analyze or whatever, leave that in the comments. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next time. Have a great day, and go play.